put you in the grips of the family law system. And the family law system is a bad system in a lot of states in this country. In California, it's a travesty. It's a travesty. And if you have no money, I would go into court, and you walk into the docket, and one guy's a gardener, and his wife is a housekeeper, and those people were in and out of there in 10 minutes. They don't have the money for high conflict divorce. People who are middle class people, they sit there and say, a friend of mine who was my partner in my company, married to his high school sweetheart, married for 12 years, 2 kids, they got divorced, and the judge just looked at him like, well, everybody knows you got to sell your house. Everybody knows that's just what you do. You sell your house and you split the assets to pay off your divorce lawyers, and she gets half and you get half. You both go get condos, and the kids move out of the nice school district you lived in now, and you're going to struggle to get a condo that you can afford in a school district that's decent for your kids. Oh, your kids went to private school? Well, that's over now, I guess. But the impact that all this, the cost is significant in some people's lives. And it's even more tragic with a class of people where the cost is not significant in their lives to one degree. They've got all the money in the world to fuel high conflict custody proceedings. And they spend millions of dollars, and the judges just sit back and go, let it roll, baby. And the lawyers have come up with 1,000 ways to get you to keep rolling those dice, and gambling. I say in the book that California family law judges are like pit bosses in Vegas casinos. The job is to keep the gamers at the table and keep them gaming. They don't want you to leave the casino. And but there is hope. There are very smart, caring, wise, open-minded men and women working in the system in states like West Virginia, where they have a really, really good proposal for a shared parenting ratio based on what the parenting ratio was during the marriage. And they have, in New Hampshire, they got good law that was passed in Kansas about parental alienation, and or the potential for that. And there's been a lot of talk, and this is the last thing I'll say. There's been a lot of talk from feminist groups who are opposed to parental alienation syndrome. And I was at an event in New York where people from an organization came and picketed my appearance there on behalf of a women's group. And I want to say to them that the shared parenting groups I work with, which are not gender specific, it's not a father's rights group. It's a shared parenting group that encompasses both men and women who suffered from alienation inside of a courtroom. Those people, they support. These people from this one group gave me a flyer, and everything that they said on their flyer I agreed with. That men who are abusive and who hide behind charges of parental alienation in order to avoid responsibility for their abusive behavior, that's wrong. Those men should go to jail. Those men should definitely their abuse should be determinative of their child custody. Men who abuse women or children in whatever way, men who abandon pregnant women, men who don't meet their financial responsibilities and are court-ordered to their spouses, those men are the enemy of the shared parenting movement. But one thing I didn't see on that piece of paper was the admission by women's rights groups that there are women similarly who go to court and lie and make charges of abuse against men. And you want to know who the most vocal critics of this are? The woman who loves the alienated man now. You've never seen people become more angry than the woman that loves the alienated father now, his current wife, his current girlfriend, his sister, his mother. I'd be with a guy, and he had that really stooped over. It was unmistakable, his demeanor. He was kind of hunched over, completely hollowed out. He'd aged 10 years in the last 2 years. He was in and out of custody evaluations in courtrooms with judges, and he was really, really demoralized. He just was so beaten. He was so savagely beaten emotionally by this experience. And he'd be with his new wife. And I'd be with the guy, and I'd say to him, so you had a tough time, huh, Bob? He'd go, yeah. Very quiet. We didn't want to talk about it. Yeah, it's tough. Yeah. My kids, I don't get to see my kids, And I'll go, and you don't have any communication with you don't have any kind of open channel of communication with the ex-wife. And his current wife or girlfriend would just turn to me and go, she's a bitch! And I go, hell hath no fury like the woman who loves the alienated man now. It's mind-blowing. This is not an issue that is a men's issue. This is a national issue because we all know someone who's been affected by divorce. You're a child of divorce, you're getting divorced, you have friends, family who are getting divorced, your brothers and sisters. We all have people who are going to work who we do not have their full participation in the work they're doing because they're struggling in some kind of divorce proceeding. Divorce has to be made simpler. Divorce has to be made simpler in our society, and it's not. People are forced to pay and pay and pay and pay. In divorce and the allocation of custody, where there are no determinative problems or issues of abuse or neglect, where there are no determinative issues of abuse or neglect, child custody has to be modified as well in our society. A growing number of men want to have more meaningful contact with their children. There are still men who get divorced and they go off and they really don't want to have that much time with their kids. They often go and marry somebody else and write off their entire family. There's a lot of men who don't do that, and a growing number of men don't do that, and a growing number of men want access to their children, and they want meaningful custody of their children. And those who deserve it should have it. And there are women similarly who are alienated like this. I mean, I was saying in another event we went to, and I've said this repeatedly, one of the most classic ways that women are alienated in court is through drug and alcohol abuse charges. I mean, I have many, many women in my life I've worked with during this book who they were former drug addicts or alcoholics who got help. But once you are stigmatized a certain way, see, the courts are state-run systems, so they must make things easy for themselves. Man, abuser, woman, junkie. And it's very hard for you to wash that scarlet letter off of yourself in the courtroom during those processes. I have one woman, she's been clean and sober for 6 or 7 years, and she still has a really, really crappy visitation with her kids because her husband's got a lot of money and he goes into court and he just buries her all the time. He's coached the children. Well, we don't really feel safe with mommy, because of the thing that she did, and when the children themselves become litigants, I mean, one of the most horrible things that happens is the empowerment of the child in the courtroom process. Once your child goes in and says the things that the alienating parent needs them to say, you're screwed. You are screwed. And you can almost never come out from under that. Because the child who's involved in the alienation matrix will do what they need to do to protect themselves, and they'll hope that the alienated parent understands. An alienated child lives with the custodial parent, the alienating parent, and their attitude toward the targeted parent is, this is the best I can do, you're going to need to understand. I got to live with this person, man or woman. And they live with them and they endure what they endure and they hope you understand. And alienated parents are told all the time, when they turn out to be 22 or 23, my son was 25 years old and he figured it all out and came back to me. And I thought, 25? My daughter's about to turn 13. I got to wait another 12 years before I'm going to have any meaningful relationship with my child? Why didn't the family law system do something to stop that? That's wrong.
They make too much money.
Well, that goes without saying. Thank you, Debbie. Anyway, I just want to say thank you all for coming, and we're going to sign some books now.
Thank you.